Hey everyone, and welcome to Offstage, a 20-minute conversation with students, hobbyists, and professionals from the world of music about music with me, your host Anagh. And today I have guests Cyril and Chaitra. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing fantastic.
Hi,
Thank you. How are
Good.
you?
I'm
I'm
good,
doing
thank you
good.
for asking. Good.
I'm doing
So
well.
we're all doing good. So let's kick right into the episode. And why don't you guys give us a little bit of an introduction to yourselves? Cyril?
Yeah, okay. I'm Cyril Prince. I am a musician. I've started learning music from the age of 9. I head the guitar department at Octavium. I have been teaching guitar for the last 9 years.
Hmm.
And apart from that, I also am a certified coach, professional coach. I work as a life coach at the moment. And
Hmm.
I've made music with Chaitra, and I've been Anagh Nayak's teacher as well.
Yeah, been and is
Hey,
still.
you've been my teacher too.
Oh, yes.
Briefly.
You
Oh.
your introduction now, Saika.
Yeah, so hi, I'm Chaitra. I was Cyril Prince's student very briefly,
Hmm.
um, till he scared me away. But kidding.
Casually
Okay,
threw him under the
let me
bus.
restart my introduction. Hi, I'm Chaitra Kalakrishnan, and I'm a singer and a pianist, and also an anesthesiologist. And yeah, I've been teaching at Octavium since 2017, but I've been singing since I was about 4 or 5 years old. I learned Carnatic music, for many years, and then started singing Western music since maybe grade 10, and then yeah, ever since.
Awesome. Been learning singing since you were 4. Pretty young.
Yeah, so I guess I count that because I used to sit with my brother on his Carnatic music classes and learn everything that he did. So I guess I count that.
Ah,
Yeah.
nice. Nice. And why did you guys decide to take up music? And, for you, Cyril, it would be mainly guitar, and you can also for vocals. And Chetra, for you, vocals. And just music in general, also. Cyril?
Well, why did I take up music? I mean, see, music was inherent in my family. Not that anyone was musicians. It's just that they were so regular to go to church, my parents and stuff that, from the age of 1 or much before that, my grandfather used to sing church songs. And apparently I started singing very young. And I won my first place in singing competition in church at the age of 5. So my journey began in Carnatic vocals in my school. Hindustani vocals. Outside of school, guitar classes and piano classes started simultaneously at the age of 9. I was a horrible piano student. My teacher never liked me because I never practiced, so I was a horrible student. But guitar, on the other hand, I think my teacher loved me. And they were a husband and wife. So,
Ah,
yeah, so the husband taught guitar and he thought I was a brilliant student. And yes, on the guitar, I loved playing the guitar. I absolutely loved playing it. And I grew up in Mangalore in a Goan community where uh, everybody around me knew how to play the guitar, and it was kind of cool to hear the sound of the guitar. People would sing. It was a beautiful community. People would come together, sing, play the guitar, play music. So music was always there. And then when I came to Bangalore, it was like the rock capital of music at the time, and
yeah.
it was amazing. I got exposed to watching live performances of so many amazing international bands. I even got to watch Metallica play live, and they were my favorite band at the time. So yeah, I formed metal bands. I became a singer-songwriter after that, fingerstyle music, and found my way into teaching guitar. But of course, I never got into teaching vocals for more than 4 months. It didn't work out for me. But apart from that, yeah, I've been doing sound production as well uh, for some time. But that's so. I think all in all, I have been in and around music some way or the other. Yeah.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, Cyril also mixed one of Symphonic Eternity's songs. I don't know if I'm pretty sure that's not released yet, the song.
I did an entire
EP, the entire EP you only did, no?
yeah,
Ah, yes. EP you only did. So, for those of you who don't know what Symphonic Eternity is, it's the band that I'm part of, and the guitarists were interviewed in the first very episode of this podcast, and Cyril was the one who mixed that EP. And Chaitra, what about for you? How did you get into music and vocals?
Um, yeah, so I started singing really young. I think there are videos of me singing at like 2, and you know, almost like my parents joke that I would sing before I would actually talk.
We have to see this.
They exist somewhere
Hmm.
in video cassette mode, of course. Yeah, and my brother used to sing as well, so I think that really sort of encouraged me to sing as well. And yeah, I learned Carnatic music for many years, and I started playing the keyboard when I was, I guess, in maybe 10 or 11.
Hmm.
And yeah, I continued to have, like, I was part of choirs and things like that growing up in high school. And yeah, so after I went to medical college, yeah, so I anesthesiologist means that I went to medical college for
Right.
almost 10 or 12 years. So I did continue to sing, but I not professionally, of course. um, but yeah, once I was done with all of my training, um, then I sort of found my way back to music in a big way.
Hmm.
So I decided to eventually sort of be a doctor part time and teach and compose music
Wow.
the
And
other half of my time. So
how's
yeah.
that been going? Like, how is it for you to balance being a doctor and being a part-time musician who teaches, right? Because of course, being a doctor is a pretty demanding job.
It is, yeah, but I guess I'm in a sort of situation where I can choose my hours, like,
Okay.
to a certain extent. I'm not in a full time um, anesthesiologist job. I freelance,
Hmm.
so that gives me a lot of freedom in terms of time. So I build my days in such a way that I sort of structure my week, dedicating maybe
Hmm.
not equal time. I guess medicine still takes up more of my time, but yeah, definitely a huge chunk also goes to music.
Ah, okay.
So.
And now I have like one specific questions for both of you. I'll start with Cyril. So, Cyril, you've been with Octavium since pretty much the very beginning, right? And you've seen me when I was like half my height. And I want to know, for you, how have you seen, what's been the growth like of Octavium from when we've started to where we are now? And what have your experiences at Octavium been like, both as a musician, as a teacher, and you're the head of department in guitar. You also headed the bands during the Muscape events. And how has it impacted you as a musician also in general? Pretty heavy loaded question.
Yeah, I know. I'm processing each part of it. First of all, I saw you when you were one-fourth the size that you are right now. And what the hell have you been doing? Like, how do you get so tall, like, so fast? But yeah, I think teaching music came to me and I didn't go looking for it. So Octavium happened because I met Viku, your father, and Chiki, your mother. And the conversation I had there, and whoever was around at the time, there was Sunu, there was Bharat Kumar, the initial team. The day I went to Octavium the first time was when Jaggi sir and Prakash sir also came, and so I got to meet them, and so the vibe was very different. And at the time, it was I went there hoping that I could be a studio engineer at Studio Octavium. But then, I met then Rishi along with me. Anyway, long story short, there were a lot of people who sort of joined Octavium after that, and I felt like I love this team and I want to do what they're doing as well, teach music and maybe eventually get into studio production and stuff. So I started teaching. I loved the experience, and it was very rewarding. So and at the time, I would perform a lot. So I had like a very cool status among my students, like because I would perform. I had my students who had their own fan club and stuff. So it was kind of nice at the time. But eventually, I did something called as NLP, neuro linguistic programming, and that's where I understood how to accelerate learning for students, be it any format. So after that, I started diving deeper into the different techniques of teaching music and how different students learn music and how I can accelerate their learning process. So that became fun, that became exciting. And I think I have only taught music through Octavium. So Octavium has been a very important and integral part of my experience as a music mentor, as a teacher, and as helping other people guide them through their musical journey. Uh, yes, one other part of your question was about leading the bands. I
Yeah.
think it happened because the very beginning, philosophy that Viku had when he founded Octavium was music should be about collaboration and it should be about ensuring that you're not just an instrumentalist, but you are a musician and you
Right.
contribute with other musicians, and you can make and play music together. And so I think Octavium was built on that philosophy. And so, of course, we had to find our way to forming student bands, training them to perform. And the real crux of being a music teacher was actually watching students perform together with other musicians. Because performing alone by yourself is one thing, but actually getting along with other musicians and the
Right.
the whatever exists, going through all of that and getting there and getting to that place and performing is something else. So when I could watch my students do that and watch other mentors, the students join and do that, it was a very, very rewarding experience. So I think, yeah, if it wasn't for Octavium, I don't know many schools that actually do stuff like that. But yes, Octavium is one of the few music schools, and I'm glad that I was a part of it right from the beginning. Growing with the philosophy and making sure that all of these experiences actually happen.
And a little bit of an icing to the cake is, Octavium. This episode is the first episode that is being released after Octavium's 9th anniversary, which was on April 13th. And it just so happens that this is the 13th episode of this podcast as well.
Wow,
So, yeah, totally not, it wasn't
Not
planned, but it just happened. Yeah.
Awesome.
Total complete coincidence.
Akers does an episode.
Yeah. And Chaitra, for you, I believe that you started as a student, right? And then now you're a teacher at Octavium. So how has it been going from a student to a teacher, and also being a student at Octavium, and then becoming a mentor at the same place that you also learned for some time?
So yeah, I joined Octavium as a student in 2015 when as I said, I just finished all of my medical training and I finally, had some time on hand and I was like, okay, I need to get back to music. So obviously at that point I was not in a state where I felt like I could teach anyone because I hadn't been singing for a long time. So
Right.
I randomly came across Octavium in a Google search. Okay, and I had no
Google
idea where
search.
it was.
Sorry to
Google
cut
search.
you. Sorry to cut you off, but this has been a pretty common theme that has been happening. Octavium is being recommended for everyone by Google.
One
So,
sec, this is many years ago, like it's
yeah.
7 years ago, but yeah,
No,
I
that's
guess
why.
those
But
days also it
even
was.
then, even now,
Yeah,
even
that's what.
last episode with Vasa and Anandan, they both told me that they found Octavium because of Google.
Wow.
So Google is doing
Thank you,
bits.
Google.
Yeah. So sorry for cutting you off. Please go on.
Yeah. So I was so sure that this is going to be some really far. It looked amazing. I was like, oh no, this is going to be all the way across in Indrananga, somewhere where I can't go. And then I realized that it's like 500 meters from my house. So I was elated, and then I just came there,
Huh.
and I met Rishi, who was teaching piano there at the time. So I became a piano student because I'd always wanted to learn. I only knew how to play the keyboard.
Right.
And a few months later, I met Sneha, who was teaching Western classical vocals. So I learned Western classical music for a while. So yeah, being there was great. I loved being there. Like, the shows and, like, as Cyril said, collaboration. Like, I would jam with, in fact, I would jam with the mentors a lot. Like, there were a few other mentors at the time when we would jam together. So that was really good fun. And that's what I liked about the place, actually. The whole collaboration thing. Of course, the teachers were amazing too. And yeah, I think maybe a year or two later, when again I took a break from medicine and decided that I wanted to teach music part time, that's when I
Right.
approached your mother and your father.
My mother and my father. Where-
Yeah, so it was great that they sort of took me on, and after that, being a mentor has been such a great, rewarding experience. And yeah, we also have this anniversary show coming up, and can't wait to see my students perform. That's
Yeah.
definitely one of the biggest joys of being a
Yeah.
teacher. So
Yeah, at the time this episode will be released, I think the show will be going on. So
Go on.
show must go on. How I'm gonna manage to do that is gonna be interesting. But yeah, this episode will be released on the day around the same time as the show. So yeah, that show is gonna be great. I'm performing, Chaitra's performing. Cyril unfortunately is not performing. He's gonna be there for sound check though. That still counts as something. You look forward to sound check. Me too. I very much look forward to sound check. And this is going to be a very interesting question to ask, especially since Cyril's my teacher. But so both of you are mentors at Octavian, of course. That's one big running theme in this episode. What's an ideal student for you? Um, because I'm sure you both would have dealt with all types of students, serious, not serious, fun, boring, or basically the whole spectrum. So, what is for you an ideal student that you would love to teach, Cyril?
Okay. I think for me, it starts um, from when a family member, uh, you know, comes in during the admission process. So I think it starts over there. So if it's a child, a school-going child, then if the parent is like, this child has a lot of, he or she always plays, hits the plate, so they have some drumming talent. Or okay, I'll be specific to guitar. So they really like the guitar. They like holding the guitar and stuff. So the parent is selling the fact that this child has some potential and they need professionals guidance to figure out. Or if it's an adult and sort of they bring someone along and they're like, I know that this person has something in them. So I think it starts from there, knowing that there is something, but this person is yet to figure out what it is. So one is that I would say some amount of raw talent, some amount of that build up. With those students, I have seen some sort of magic happen in class, and those would be my ideal students. After that, it moves on to a lot of hard work. Yes, students who take their homework seriously, who take their time in class seriously, they practice, and not just practice what's taught in class, but actually go. So, say for example, you're taught 4 chords, and one song, I teach you 2 songs, I teach you 3 songs. At the end of like 3 months, you just know those 3 songs. Then you're not really an ideal student. You're a good student. But if on the other hand you've gone and you've sort of figured out 10, 15, 20, 100 other songs, or a resource where you can learn so many songs using those 4 chords, then you are someone I know who can dive into music and sort of figure out the soul of music in there, and that again qualifies as an ideal student for me. The third aspect is, yes, behavior in class, absolutely very important. Happiness is fine, all of that is cool, but at the same time, if they show some sort of spark while jamming or while playing music together, and not just constantly, I don't know. Sometimes for students, I feel some of the students have natural confidence. So if I ask them to just improv without teaching them how to do it, they will attempt. They will try something. They will flop at it, but they will figure something out at that moment. And some students are too scared to do it at that because I didn't teach it to them. So I think that would be a third category of ideal students, where if I put you in the spot, you should figure your way out, and it doesn't matter how you do, good, bad, ugly, no one's judging you there. But the fact that you've taken the effort to do it, that also would qualify as an ideal student for me. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty solid answer. Chaitra, anything? What about for you? You can be more vocal specific since, yeah.
Yeah, so I think with vocals, most of the kids come in already having like they already like to sing, right? So, it's nice to see kids who've already, they're already confident performers. In fact, they haven't had a single day of training, right? So it's lovely to get students who are already at that level where they love to sing on their own. They've already explored a whole bunch of songs. They listen to a lot of music, So really, what they need from me is guidance and like sort of honing their skills. So these sort of students are the types of students who probably, as Cyril said, will go home and like learn 5 more songs. Like I teach them a certain technique, and they'll say, "Oh, okay, all of these songs have, say, use the blues scale too." Or suppose I've taught them about the blues scale, or suppose I've taught them about runs. Then they'll find 5 other songs, and they'll come having learned them. So that I think that drive to learn stuff on their own and to add, to improvise and to add stuff on their own is really one thing. And another thing is that nowadays a lot of students are writing their own songs. So it's especially wonderful to see. I mean, this is like a bonus. Like obviously, it's I wouldn't expect this from every student, but getting students who write their own music is like just the cherry on the cake, I would say. Because it's lovely to see the ideas that they have. They may be a little underconfident to bring it forward, but it's lovely to work on those ideas, develop them together, and sort of try to put their music out in the world as well. So,
Right.
yeah.
And if any of the viewers are students in general, or specifically Cyril or Chaitra students, take notes, guys. This is how you keep your teachers happy.
Write
And
songs.
and this is so now you know how to be an ideal student in class. And I am going to ask this. No names. Do you guys have this ideal student or students? Yeah.
Yeah,
I,
definitely.
I feel like initially sometimes students may not be ideal. Like that first point that I qualified where, that someone of the family member would say that always may not happen. But over a couple of months or whatever, I would notice that this student has everything to be an ideal. So they're so committed, they're so dedicated. Yes, like Chaitra said, they would go back home, listen to music, and they will tell me about these new artists, and they would have their own. They would follow this genre of music, this art, these different types of artists. They would do their research and they come back. So I think most of my students now fall in that category, and most of them have been with me for a very long time. So they've evolved to become to get into that state, that position. Yeah, no names. I can't take. There's so many names.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so glad to hear that there are so many names. And I think a lot of the viewers also who are your students would be glad to hear that. And Chaitra, anything to add?
Yeah, I have many as well. Again, most of my students have been with me for almost 4 years, I think. And yeah, I mean, so many of them have reached that level. I mean, I guess that's why they stuck to it for so long, right? I mean, only someone truly dedicated would like learn for so many years.
Yeah.
I think.
And I think we're also going to see some of your students perform on Saturday, no? So that is
Yes.
also something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we are also slowly running out, not slowly, we are running out of time. So before I close off the episode, do the both of you have anything you'd like to plug? Social medias, YouTubes, anything? Instagram, of course, you both will be tagged.
God,
But
we're both very moody social media posters, I think. I'm very erratic. So yeah, but follow me if you like my music.
It's funny that you asked. My Instagram handle, I've blocked it. Like, I mean, blocked it. Like only friends or family can see it. People who request and I accept them. So yeah, but if I know that there are Octavium students or people who are common with Octavium, I would definitely have them follow. So I go under the handle of Cyril Talk. That's CYRILTALK on Instagram.
yeah. Cool. So I think that pretty much concludes episode 13 of Offstage. Thank you guys so much for joining me in this episode. It was a lot of fun having the two of you.
Oh, I have to say, I love what you're doing with Offstage. It's amazing. 2 months of some
Thank you.
brilliant content. Like I said,
Yeah, it's so good.
from 1/4 your size to see grown up to this confident interviewer is quite amazing.
Really, really.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to hear that.
This particular video is going to be so viral. So Anagh, you also put your Instagram handle here so that people know what kind of music you do.
YouTube.
Okay, so my Instagram handle is just my name. It's at Anagh_Nayak, and my YouTube is also just my name, Anagh Nayak. So you can find me both on Instagram and YouTube. Gonna try and post more.
With that, thank you so much for being here tonight.
Hey, that's my line. Yeah. Now, so like Cyril was saying, thank you to the both of you for being on the episode. I've had a great time, and to the viewers, I'll see you all in the next episode.
Yes. Adios. Bye.
Adios. Bye bye.